Cellular respiration primarily serves to make ATP to provide energy for cellular activities. In cellular respiration, glucose is oxidized when it loses electrons in hydrogen atoms. Oxygen is reduced as it gains electrons in hydrogen atoms. During cellular respiration, glucose loses electrons and oxygen gains electrons. Oxidation and reduction always go together as electron transfer requires both a donor and an acceptor. Glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasmic fluid of the cell. Glycolysis begins cellular respiration by breaking glucose into two molecules of a 3-carbon compound called pyruvate. The term for the first stage, glycolysis, means the splitting of sugars. Glycolysis begins with a single molecule of glucose and ends with two molecules of pyruvate. In glycolysis, ATP molecules are produced by substrate level phosphorylation. In glycolysis, there is a net gain of 2 ATP. The energy extracted from the glucose during glycolysis is stored in a combination of ATP and NADH. The cell can use the energy in ADP immediately, but for it to be used in NADH, electrons must pass through an electron transport chain located in the inner mitochondrial membrane, and the pyruvate molecules still hold most of the energy of the glucose. These molecules will be oxidized in the citric acid cycle. The 3-carbon glycosylride 3-phosphate molecules now enter the energy payoff phase. Chemical bonds are broken and NAD plus picks up electrons and hydrogen ions, forming NADH. The energy release is used to attach phosphate groups. The phosphate groups are transferred to ADP, finally making some ATP. This way of making ATP is known as substrate level phosphorylation.
I have a citric acid cycle. Citric acid cycle begins after glycolysis makes a coenzyme A. 2 coenzyme A enter the cycle, and the coenzyme A starts the cycle. 2 carbon atoms enter the cycle with it, and they leave, according to the book, during phases 2 and 3 as carbon dioxide. The book has 5 steps. The first step is coenzyme A and 2 carbon atoms enter the cycle. Coenzyme A is turned to carbon dioxide. Step 2, NAD plus is converted to NADH and hydrogen. Step 3 is ADP turns to ATP. Step 3 is FADH2 FAD turns to FADH2, and then that's it. The products of citric acid cycle is 2 carbon dioxides, 6 NADH plus H, 2 FADH2, and 2 ATPs. The NADH and FADH2 are proteins that are needed for the electron transport chain, and that's it.
Oxidative phosphorylation includes the electron transport chain and chemiosmosis. The electron transport chain is where NAD plus plus hydrogen ions combine, and these proteins carry hydrogen ions across the intermitochondrial membrane into the intermembrane space. This creates a gradient of hydrogen ions between the outside and inside of the mitochondrial matrix. This gradient allows the increased hydrogen concentration in the intermembrane space to flow through the inner mitochondrial membrane through ATP synthase back into the mitochondrial matrix, which synthesizes ADP and another phosphate into adenosine triphosphate ATP, which is a process known as chemiosmosis. the ATP synthase. Let's see. Oh, most ATP in cellular respiration is made during oxidative phosphorylation, and it's very important to cellular life.